Hello everyone, welcome again. Hope that all of you are fine and safe. Today we are going to start the fourth lecture on electrostatics. In the first two lectures we have mainly dealt with charges and its properties. In the third lecture we have done about Coulomb's law in vector form and Coulomb's law in terms of position vector. We have also done the problems of Coulomb's law by assuming the force between only two charges. Now we are going to calculate the force between multiple charges. For this we need superposition principle. So let's start with the superposition principle. According to superposition principle, the total force exerted on a given charge is equal to the vector sum of the forces exerted on it by all surrounding charges. So let us consider n charges. Consider charge Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and so on. Suppose there are n charges. Suppose that we want to calculate the force on charge Q0. According to superposition principle, while calculating the force between two charges, we ignore the presence of other charges. So, according to superposition principle, first we calculate the force between these two charges. This is the force between 0 and 1. Now we calculate this pair of force. This is the force 0 2. So on we take this force. This is the force acting on Q0 in this direction. And this force is acting like this. Suppose the distance is R1, R2, R3, R4 and so on Rn distance. So according to superposition principle, the net force can be written as force 01, force 02, force 03 and so on, that can be written. So according to the statement we are calculating the vector sum of the forces. Now this can be written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q0. Take first R1 Q R1 vector. We are writing in terms of vector form. Similarly, when we can write 1 by 4 pi epsilon. Now the charge is Q2 and Q0. The direction is from vector R2, R2 and so on. Take the common terms 1 by 4 pi epsilon. Q0 is common. One can write on Q1 by R1 Q by vector R1, Q2 R2 Q vector R2, so on. One can also write down, let the n charge Rn Q Rn vector. This can be. This term can be also written as like this, 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q0, take the summation Qy R1 Q and vector I. The first term start with 1 going up to. So that is the Coulomb's law in vector form. In vector form, and we apply the superposition principle. Now using this principle, let's solve some questions from this one. So the first question is, three equal charges, each of plus q, placed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle of side R. What will be the force on any charge. So here now we have three charges and we have to apply the superposition principle. So consider three charges and the vertices. Take the point A, B, C. Take the charge plus Q at A, plus Q at B, plus Q at C. So we have to find the force on any one charge. So let's apply the force on the charge Q at A. So first of all, while calculating the force between charge Q at A and charge Q at B, ignore this charge. So these two charges are similar charges, so the direction of the force will be this side. And give the name of this force due to B. And this force acting on charge A due to charge Q at B is given by, all of you know this formula, K Q square by R square, where R is the distance because the triangle is equilateral triangle. Okay? Now the charge at A also experiences repulsive force due to charge Q at C. So the direction of this force is in this direction, and take the name of this force is force C. The force C can also be written K Q square by R square. If you look these two equations, force B is equal to force C. The forces are equal in magnitude. Say this force is equal to F. Now we have to find the resultant of force C and force B. And now we have to apply the resultant formula that we have done in class 11. So the resultant of force C and force B. Force resultant. All of you know this formula in class 11. Force B square, force C square, twice FB, FC cos theta. The magnitude of force B and force C is equal. Therefore, we have F square twice F square cos 60. The angle between these two forces is 60 degree, equilateral triangle. So we have twice F square plus twice F square. The cos 60 is 1 by 2. Cancel 2. So we have, cancel this one, 2F square plus F square. Taking F common, so F root 2 plus 1, that is F root 3. So therefore, the force acting on charge Q at A can be written as finally force net or resultant. Force net or resultant. The value of F is KQ square by R square root 3. So that is the net force acting on charge Q at A, KQ square R square root 3. Now we have one more question on the same topic. By assuming three charges Q at the vertices of equilateral triangle, now take the fourth charge at the centroid of the triangle. So the question is, I am writing the question on the board. So the second question is, three equal charges each plus Q placed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle of side R. Now what will be the force on charge Q placed on the centroid of the triangle? So in this question, now we have a fourth charge which is placed on the centroid of the triangle. So let's draw the diagram first. So consider equilateral triangle. in the A, B, C plus Q. So in the first question, we have 3 charges at the vertices of the equilateral triangle. But now in this question, we have 4 charge at the centroid. So charge a small q F O, and again take all the distances. All the distances is R. So now the force acting on charge Q due to this charge exerted in the downward direction. So the direction of force due to the charge plus Q at is downward direction. What is the direction of force due to this charge? The direction of force due to this charge will be in this direction, and third force will be in this direction. So the direction of the forces. So the first force we are showing in this direction. This is the force due to charge at A. Similarly, this charge exerts on force plus Q in this direction. This is the direction of the force B due to the charge at Q. Now third force will be in this direction. Okay. So now we have 3 forces acting on the charge Q. The angle between the 3 forces is 120 degrees. Now first calculate this distance AO, OB and OC. So first calculate the distance, or rather one can take here ABCD. So AD or AO can be written as 2/3 of the length AD. Okay, 2/3 AD. In this triangle ADC, if consider this triangle theta, then in this triangle AD can be written as AC cos theta. AD can be written as AC cos theta is equal to 2/3 AC is R, and what is the value of cos theta? 30 degree, because it is an equilateral triangle. So we have 2/3 R cos 30 taken root 3/2 to cancel. We have R/root. So we have calculated the distance AO. Now the forces A, force A, force E, force B, all are equal in magnitude, because the distance as well as the magnitude of charge is same. So one can write down here force A also equal to force B, which is also equal to force C, and say all these forces nearly equal to force F. Now calculate one of the force. If you write one of the force F, take the distance K, capital Q, a small q, the distance is R/√3 is equal to thrice KQ by R square. So all the 3 forces are equal in magnitude and their value is thrice KQ by R square. Now find the resultant of force C and force B. The resultant of force C and force B would be in the vertically upward direction, and that force should be given by resultant force of C plus B. that will be acting vertically upward, and that force can be written as, I'm drawing this part, So the resultant force of C and B can be written as force C square, force B square, twice force C, force B cos theta. Already we have proved that all the forces are equal in magnitude. So F square plus twice F square, and the angle is 120 degree. So cos 120. So we have twice F square plus twice F square cos 120 minus half. 2 cancel. So we have 2F square. 2 cancel. We have minus F square. So overall F square is equal to F. So the direction of the resultant force of B and C in the vertical direction, and whose magnitude is F. Also the magnitude of force A, which is acting downward, is also F. The direction of these two forces are equal in magnitude, opposite in direction. This is the resultant force of B plus C. So we can see that the magnitude of force B and C, which is acting vertically upward, is equal to the force A, which is acting downward, and the direction of this force is opposite to this force. So what is the net force? The net force acting on this charge is 0. So the force net acting on this charge is 0. This question can be also done by some other method, by the concept of vector. In class 11th we have done that. If the three cyclic vectors are taken in the same direction, the resultant force is 0. If you do this question by some other method, look, not by calculation method, represent the force A in this direction. The direction of force B is in this direction from here. So this is the direction of force B, and the third force X is in this direction. Now these three vectors are cyclic vectors and taken in the same direction. So the resultant force of A, resultant force of B plus resultant force of C must be taken 0. So by the concept of vector, we don't need any calculation. On the basis of this, we can say that the resultant force acting on charge Q is, small q is 0. How can you prove this one? Force A, force B, force C 0. In class 11, we know the Prandtl law of vector addition. So in Prandtl law of vector addition, consider three vectors: vector A, B, C, and this is the resultant vector. So we know that vector AB plus vector BC is vector AC. So if the two vectors are represented by the two sides of a triangle taken in the same order, then the resultant vector is given by the third side. That part we have done in class 11. Now adding vector CA both sides. So adding the vector CA, AB plus BC, and add vector here CA, vector AC plus vector CA. Now the direction of vector CA and vector AC are opposite to each other. So one can write down vector AC is equal to minus vector AC. So what is the value? 0. So sum of the three cyclic vector AB, BC, CA is 0. So we have used this concept while solving this problem. So far we have taken the charge on the equilateral triangle. First we have taken the charge on the vertices of the triangle, then we put a charge on the centroid. Now we are taking the square and taking the 4 charges at a time and then finding the resultant force by the method of superposition. Let's see some examples. So now solving with the square, the question is consider a square, each side are A, B, C, D. Let the magnitude of each charge is plus Q, plus Q, plus Q, plus Q. Now take a charge, fifth charge at O here. So calculate, the question is that calculate the net force on charge small q at O. So first calculate the force due to charge capital Q on Q and the direction of this force. Okay, repulsive force will be acting on a small q. So this force, that is the charge q at A, exert force on a small q in this direction. Also the charge at C also exert force, and this force is repulsive in nature, so this is the direction of force C. Same way, the charge at D exert a repulsive force in this direction. This is the direction of force D, and in the same way this is the direction of force D. So magnitude of charge at A and C are equal in magnitude. Magnitude of charge B and C are also equal. The direction of force C and A are opposite to each other. The direction of force D and FB also opposite to each other. So the magnitude of the force C, magnitude of the force B, magnitude of the force D, all are equal in magnitude. We don't need any calculation because we see that the magnitude and distances are equal. Now look this force. The force C and force E are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So cancel each other. Equal in magnitude and opposite. In the same way, force B and D equal in magnitude and opposite direction, they will cancel out each other. We don't need any calculation. So the net force acting on charge small q, therefore force net acting on charge is 0. Right? Now, if we change the charge at A and B, we change the sign of the charge, then see what will be the net force on Q. So the next question is that A, B, C, D. Take here plus Q. Also take here plus Q. Diagonally we are changing the sign. Minus Q, minus Q. And again find the net force. Charge Q. Just pause the video and then try to solve it. Or either do with me. Again this capital Q exert force on Q, and the direction of this force is repulsive force A. The charge at C exerted on a small q, and the direction of this force is also repulsive in nature. What about the charge at B and D? The charge minus q attract this one in this direction. This charge small q attracted this side. Also in this condition, we find that force is equal to force A Force D is equal to force D. Net force is 0. Again in this condition, the resultant force is 0. And on the basis of this one, we have a question in the NCERT where 5 coulomb charge are given here, -2 coulomb charge is given here. So the net force should be 0. Now look the another symmetry of the square. Now the other symmetry is that consider this combination now. A, B, C, D. Here plus Q, minus Q, minus Q. Take each side R. So find the net force on a small q at O. So if you look the direction of the force in this case, the force exerted by plus q on small q would be again repulsive in nature. So this is the direction of force E. Similarly, the plus q charge at D exerted force on q and this is repulsive in nature. Force exerted by D, repulsive in nature. Now here, what will be the direction of the force? So here, a small q will be attracted in this direction. So here, one more force. This is the force due to B. This force also attracted. Force C is attractive in nature. So now we have two forces. F1, which is the sum of force B, force D. Another force is F2, which is force C plus force C. So the resultant force of force B and D, the resultant force of C and A would be now in this direction. Got it? All the charges are equal in magnitude, distances are equal. So force B is equal to force D. This can be written twice force B and here take twice force C. And again all forces are equal, so all equal to say twice F, twice F. Assume F is the force. That is all force A, force B, force C, force D is equal to force A. So what is the resultant force? F. F1 square, F2 square plus twice F1, F2 cos theta. F1 is equal to nearly twice F. F2 also twice F. Twice F square cos 90. So cos 90 is 0, so only we have this. 4f square, 4f square, total 8f square. So 2f into 2 will be the resultant force acting in the downward direction. Got it? So if we change the symmetry of the chart, the direction of the force is changing. So in third case, we are finding the net force in the downward direction. Now we are finding the force at one corner of the square. So let's solve that problem. So next question is, again take a square. take charge at A plus Q, at B plus Q, at C also plus Q, and at D also plus Q. The distance is R, all distances are. Now we want to calculate the net force at D. So first select the direction of the forces. So due to this charge, the direction of the force should be, this is the direction of the force of A. Due to this charge, the direction of the force should be force C. And the third charge at B, the direction of the force would be along this one, force at B. First you find the resultant of force A and force C, and then you add the resultant of this force in the direction of force B. Now the magnitude of the force due to charge at A and C would be same. So force at A and the magnitude of force due to the charge at C would be K Q square, distance is R square. For the charge at B, you calculate the distance AD. So AD can be calculated R square plus R square 2R square R root 2. So force, the magnitude of the force at charge Q, due to charge Q at B is given by K Q square. Now the distance is R root 2. So K Q square 2R. Okay. So now, and first take the resultant of force A and C. So the resultant of force A plus C would be given by this formula. Force A square plus force B square plus twice force A force B cos theta. Angle is 90 degree, cos 90 0, and the magnitude of force A and force C are equal. So assume this force is equal to F. So this can be written F square plus F square, that is twice F square F root 2. So the value of F is KQ square by R square root 2. Now in the direction of force A plus C, we are going to add also force B. So now the net force, the force net acting on charge plus Q at D can be written like this: resultant of force A plus C plus force B. The resultant of force A plus C we have calculated K Q square R square root 2, and the magnitude of force B is K Q square 2R. So K Q square by R square, here also R square, sorry, it should be 2R square. So taking common K Q by R square, we have root 2 plus half. So that is the answer, or either you can go one more step. So taking root 2 plus 1. Okay. K Q square R square 2 root 2 plus 1 by 2. That is the answer when we are taking the charge at one of the vertices of the square. After doing this type of questions, now we are coming to the continuous distribution of charges. So far we have calculated the force between two charges, then we have calculated the force between three charges as we have done in case of triangle, then we have calculated the force between four charges. if we have continuous charge distribution, then how to calculate the force? For this, we have a different technique. So let's discuss the different types of charge distribution. We have generally three types of charge distribution. Number one is linear charge distribution. Number two is surface charge distribution, and number three is volume charge distribution. So let's also discuss it one by one. Let's discuss linear charge distribution. So next topic is continuous charge distribution. One, two. Charge. So number one is linear charge distribution. Linear charge distribution. In linear charge distribution, the charge is spread over a certain length, like a rod, a small rod having a small area of cross section, a ring. So linear charge distribution would be like this type, a small rod, or either it may be a ring, circular ring. In linear charge distribution, we have a term called linear charge density. So linear charge density denoted by lambda and defined as charge by total length. Total charge by total length. If the charge is uniformly distributed, this can be also written as dq by dl. Now, how to calculate, how to apply linear charge distribution while calculating the force? So consider once again a small rod having uniform charge distribution Q. First of all, you take a small element of length dl, and this a small element we assume charge dq. Suppose you have a charge at O Q naught at a distance r. So the force experienced by charge Q naught due to the small charge dq is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q naught dq r square. Say the direction of force is in vector r. 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q naught by r square. dq can be written lambda dl unit vector. So this is the force with the small element dl. If you want to calculate the total force, do the integration of this equation. So force total integration of df, this can be written 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q naught lambda dl by r square. The length dl depends on the shape and size of the given conductor. Now we have surface charge distribution. So number 2 is surface charge distribution. Number 2, surface charge distribution. So in this case, the charge is distributed over a certain surface, and here we have a term that is surface charge density. So here the charge is distributed over certain surface So consider a small surface ds having charge dq. So the surface charge density here sigma can be defined as charge per unit area. If the charge is uniformly distributed, then charge dq by dA, or one can also write down d2 by ds, no problem. So suppose we have a charge q naught from here at a distance r, then the small amount of force acting on charge q naught is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon dq q naught, distance is r square, the direction of unit vector is r. 1 by 4 pi epsilon, here dq can be written as sigma ds q naught r square. Now to calculate the total force, do the required integration 1 by 4 pi epsilon sigma q naught integration of ds by r square unit vector r. The third one is the volume charge distribution. Consider where the charge is distributed over a certain volume. So in this volume dV, consider a small charge dV, and the charge is distributed within the volume of the conductor. So here we are defining a term sigma called volume charge distribution, and this can be defined as total charge per unit volume. If charge is uniformly distributed, sigma can be written d2 by dV. In the same way, if you want to calculate the force on this charge q naught due to the charge in a small volume dV, one can write down the force 1 by 4 pi epsilon, the small amount of charge dq q naught by r square, if r is the distance unit vector. So total force can be written as Vf, and taking the integration 1 by 4 pi epsilon q naught, one can also write down dq is equal to rho dV, dq is equal to rho dV q naught by r square unit vector. So finally 1 by 4 pi epsilon rho q naught integration dV by r square unit vector r. That is the required expression. So these are the continuous charge distribution. Now we'll do a question on the linear charge distribution and see that how can we apply it. So take a question on linear charge distribution and try to apply this one. The question is that consider a rod of length L having uniform charge distribution. The total length of the rod is capital L. We have to find the force on charge q naught, which is at a distance d from one end of the rod. Got it? So we have a uniform rod of length L. The charge is uniformly distributed. We have to find the net force on charge q naught due to this distribution of charge. So what is the technique we have learned? First of all, you consider a small element. So consider a small element first. and this element dx is at a distance x from the small element, and in this small element we have charge dq. Okay, so first of all we apply the Coulomb's law between the charge dq and q naught. Just I have written this formula. The force dF can be written 1 by 4 pi epsilon. The charge is between q naught dq. The distance is how much from this element? X square. Here one can write down also lambda. Writing here lambda is charge per unit length, or lambda is equal to dq by here the length is dx. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon q naught dq can be written lambda dx by x square. No problem here. Now 1 by 4 pi epsilon lambda q naught 1 by x square dx. Now student, think about the limits you will take here so that you can take the entire rod. How to take the limits here? Just think on it and then you solve. Just think on it for a few minutes. So the limits one can start. Suppose that this element is here, right? So the smallest distance from this one end is d. So the x is equal to d. From here, the entire rod will come. So the limit should be from here d, from here x plus d plus l. So here the x is variable from d plus entire length of the rod. Now 1 by 4 pi epsilon lambda q naught, integration of 1 by x by dx is minus 1 by x, and the limit from d to d plus. Now put the upper limit and lower limits. 1 by 4 pi epsilon lambda q naught, upper limit minus 1 by d plus, minus minus plus. So finally we have lambda q naught 4 pi epsilon 1 by t minus 1 by t. So that is the application of linear charge distribution. We have some more application in electric field intensity. So we apply continuous charge distribution in electric field, and we try to do some more problems in electric field intensity. So for today class we are completing up to this point, and next class we will start with the electric field intensity. So today I am completing here only. So be safe and stay at home. Thank you and have a nice day.